Alright, the Reds, Monday, sunny Monday in Liverpool, spring has sprung, and this is Talking Reds in association with the Shankly Hotel's Shankly Tours. More on that in the middle of this. But before all that, we went to Goodison Park, we got a 0-0 draw. It was one of the oddest derbies of all time, I think. There was no bookings, no real passion. No one was asked. The Evertonians got excited about throw-ins and a corner and that. We just sort of were in the away end going, it's all about the Champions League for us. It was just a distraction for once.
Yeah, the bigger picture stuff is Tuesday was always going to take greater importance. But when I said to you on the Team Talk show, at some point in the game, Everton will remember that they're Everton. I didn't expect it to be minute one, because they offered absolutely nothing from the go.
It's really weird.
They have that little flurry, don't they, towards the end, where we start making a few subs, and I think Jurgen's just looking to see the game out, get through it unscathed, totally understandable. Chamberlain comes on, does a little bit, to be fair, as hard luck. Yep. Bobby comes on, looks like he'd been on the ale.
He didn't want to know him, did he? He didn't want to know.
Listen, we love Bobby, so you can forgive him for that. But if he wasn't giving it away, he was fouling people, wasn't he? So he had a bit, a bit of a nightmare.
His fouls weren't even that good.
No, they weren't.
He wasn't putting in like proper tackles. It was like he was just going, Jurgen told me to come on here and run around a bit and definitely not get injured for Tuesday, so I'll just do that.
I think it's almost impossible. When you got a game as big as the one on Tuesday, that minds are going to drift a little bit. But I think, towards the end of that game, they got a little bit of a, I suppose, an idea that they may get something out of it, but they spent most of the time on their arses the last 20 minutes anyway, so nothing was really dropping for them. But as you said, one of the weirdest derbies in living memory. It was one of those ones where it's almost an inconvenience, isn't it? You just want to get it out the way. Yes, of course you want to win. You want to beat them every time you play them, especially on their own patch. But with Tuesday so close, and the fact that the squad is down to the bare bones almost, it was a case of let's get through it, boys, no more injuries, and we go again on Tuesday.
Well, the thing is, we always joke, don't we, Liverpool and Everton fans, with each other, where we say it's your cup final and all this sort of stuff, but it really wasn't our cup final. That's the thing. And if Liverpool get to the semi-finals of the European Cup this season, which they've got every chance of doing, that defines your season, not getting a result at Goodison Park. Whereas the flip side of it, though, and what you're talking about, is it would have been brilliant for Evertonians to get a result. It's now 17 derby matches without a win against Liverpool. That's one of the longest stretches of all time now against Liverpool without any kind of win. That is pretty grim, that is pretty miserable. And look, there's loads of revisionism gone on since from them, and it's been brilliant to watch. It's like a social experiment. It's like, all of a sudden it turns to, all these Reds saying they've got the Rezzies out when their team was more expensive than ours. Yeah, but if you took Van Dijk out of it, it was worth about 70 million quid.
Robbo, at the end of the day, we're playing a lad at right back who hasn't been seen for a year in Nathaniel Klein. We're
playing a lad at left back who's never played there before.
A 32-year-old Estonian centre-half, asking him to do his best Bobby Carlos impression. James Milner's having his 146 game on the spin. Dom Solanke has never scored a goal, might never score a goal, I don't know, you know what I mean? And then you got Danny Ings, who hasn't started a football match in about 3 years. And he still couldn't beat us, so you know what, lads, it might never happen. You might have to just kind of make your peace with it. So at the end of the day, I think every single Liverpool fan would have took a draw that day just because of what's on the horizon. Yeah. And we all knew that the manager had to make changes. There's no way he could have gone in. If we go in with our first 11 there, God knows what the score would have been. Because they, even knowing that, they still don't really lay a glove on us. I know there's a couple of challenges that could have been bookings, but I fully expected them to come out all guns blazing, thinking, you know what, this is our best chance ever to win a derby match. And there was nothing there from them at all. As I say, the odd little challenge, which probably could have been a booking on a different day, but it wasn't. You're not really asked about it. But as I say, for us, it was all about managing the game of football and getting through it in a mature, comfortable fashion, not doing anything silly. And the manager speaks about it, doesn't he? He says, listen, that was mature, that's what I wanted from the players. We didn't want to make it a crazy derby because we've got bigger things to think about, and that's what happened at the end of the day.
Well, as you say, we are a little bit down to the bare bones in terms of the team, and I think everyone knows what the team is going to be on Tuesday because, you can work it out basically. There's not going to be any surprises, so any more injuries, and there was one to Moreno in the warm-up, of course, any more of injuries is just, you're reaching crisis point for Liverpool. I mean, you've got a lad there who didn't even know he was going to be knocking around on the bench, and they're like ironing on his number at Goodison, you know what I mean? Yeah, lad, you're on the bench now. You know, Conor Masterson and all that, he's running around getting autographs off people and just can't, you know, we can't believe he's there. So it was a bit of a mad situation, and you know, the other one from Evertonians as well is, oh, you know, their away end was awful. Well, you know, you had 3/4 of the ground, and that was awful. I mean, as I say, the only time they got up for it was towards the end when they realised, hang on, we can win it here. And then even at that point, their players all decided to slip on their arse rather than scoring a goal. So fair play. Fantastic save from Karius first half from Balassi.
Oh, the save.
You know, that one of the best of the season, that from a Liverpool perspective.
He's looking so good, and I think I've spoken on the shows about, I think, you know, the manager would understandably still have one eye on maybe doing something in the summer, and I still think that is probably the case because, you know, it's been over a small amount of time, really, isn't it, in terms of his kind of increased levels of performance over the last 3 months. But I think there's definitely a conversation to be had now, I think, where people would not get too upset if someone said, right, Karius is going to be a number one next season, based on what we've seen in recent weeks. I think
the new Karius.
Yeah, the new Karius, absolutely. But I think, you know, there's still, you still want to see it over a longer period of time to be absolutely sure that this is his level. But in terms of his recent performances, and that save at Goodison, I mean, I think someone said it on one of the post-match shows, if that goes in, no one's had too many complaints about it because it was a great shot. But his starting position, he's already thinking about where the ball's potentially going. He's on the front foot, he's on his toes, he's thinking about it. And I think there's a clear difference between his levels and Mignolet's levels for me in terms of their kind of ceiling. And I think Karius has proven over the last kind of number of weeks that the manager made absolutely the right decision to put him in the team.
Couple of good saves at the other end as well, from Milner and from Solanke, and then, you know, that's pretty much it really. I mean, you know, there's not loads and loads to get into about the game. I mean, that said, Neil et al. Will go and do a review on it anyway, and I'm sure they will have picked loads of stuff out in the second watch. That's one of the beauties of the Anfield app. The free show is already out there. There will also be an Under the Lights today, which is focusing more on the big one in Manchester tomorrow, which we all can't wait for. Other than that, any other bits and bobs? I guess it's worth saying that Genie played well, wasn't it? I mean, we touched on Friday.
Called it, lad, didn't you?
You know what I mean? For once, even a stop clock tells the right time twice a day. I actually made a good point on a podcast. Yes, I said this would be Genie's practice matches as the deepest midfielder. So approved, and he did it pretty well. I mean, I think there was something where Klopp joked about it, saying like he'd played well, but he said there was a little moment where he got a few extra grey hairs. That was where he held on to it a little bit too much. But even then, he turned away from, I think it was Rooney, and he got on with it. And overall, he did pretty well there, didn't he?
I thought he looked good. I think you're right to reference the fact that he maybe takes one or two little chances that he shouldn't have done. And I think on Tuesday night, you definitely don't want to see that. But you know, he's probably managing the game in terms of what's in front of him. So you've got to give him that.
And he looked at Rooney and went, wow, he's slow.
No one's getting anything near me. And I think the pitch plays a part as well. It wasn't the greatest, but I think in terms of a kind of a little early audition, if you like, it went pretty well. And you could argue maybe he was the best player on the pitch. I think Milner played pretty well until he goes off as well. But I think, all in all, it was just about preparation and getting through in terms of that huge game on Tuesday. And I think, you know, maybe Nathaniel Klein thinks to himself, have I done enough to maybe get a start on Tuesday?
All right, wasn't he?
I thought he did really, really well. I think it's worth noting that he has been out for so long, and to come back and deliver a performance like that, where it almost looked like he'd only been out for a few weeks. I thought it was excellent. Really good. I think, the manager will probably have to look to Trent. You know, given his performance in the first game, it would be unfair, I think, to suddenly kind of take him out. And listen, Klein may have been playing purely on adrenaline, who knows, you know, to get through that game. You don't know what he's like in terms of his body the day after and the day after that. But I think in terms of that experienced head, if Klein had a couple of more games, it wouldn't have been the worst shout to start thinking about, do you want him in against City, just because he's been there, he's done it, he's played at the highest level. I think
we can start to have that conversation over the next couple of weeks, can't we? Because he's done his chances, no harm, as you say. Probably Tuesday's too soon.
I think it is too soon.
But I mean, we've got what, Bournemouth on Saturday at home, things like that.
Exactly, another chance for him to go again. And I think, you know, Trent, you know, he deserves a shot, doesn't he, I suppose, based on the first leg. I think you're always worrying with young players because they can have a great game, and because they are young players, sometimes a bad game can follow, because that's just the nature of the beast sometimes. But I think in terms of his performance, he absolutely deserves to go again, and he'll be buzzing for this game. And I think in the bigger picture stuff, in terms of the league, you know, that draw does us no harm.
No, it's fine.
Obviously, you know, Chelsea
draw.
They look like a team who've almost made peace with the fact that they're the 5th best team in the league, and we crack on from there.
Yeah, it's all fine, it's all dandy. It looks like Liverpool will get that Champions League place. At most, I think they need 3 wins now, but that's sort of relying on Chelsea having a perfect end to their season, and there's no evidence for that. And obviously Liverpool have got to play Chelsea at Stamford Bridge as well, so if they win that, they basically only need to win 1 other, and it's done and dusted. We're in the Champions League next season, which is what it's all about.
And on that, Robbo, as well, if you look at our fixtures, the away fixtures, it's Chelsea, as you've referenced there, it's West Brom, and then the home ones, Stoke, Brighton and Bournemouth. I mean, if you were hand-picking fixtures for the end of the season, you wouldn't be far off if you were picking those fixtures, because there's not a team in there that would scare Liverpool. And even the Chelsea away game, I've said it before, they look like a team who've now made peace with the fact that they're just not going to be good enough this season. And I fully expect to go there and win the game, to be honest with you. And the home games we've got, they look like 9 points to me. You may have to do a little bit of rotation around potential semi-finals, etc. But at the minute, it looks really rosy for that top 4 spot. And you're hoping you might get 3rd, but in the grand scheme of things, 4th gets you straight into the Champions League. It's not the end of the world. I'd like to finish 3rd if we can, but Spurs got that game in hand now, so it might be tricky.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only sort of minor little down points, if you like, from the weekend is that, maybe you look at it there and say that is a big drop-off from our front 3 to Ings and Solanke. But that's the only little concern, isn't it? And maybe you're looking at it now saying, come the summer, Sturridge hasn't got a future, it looks like, at Liverpool. So therefore, I mean, I think Klopp's already said he's not in the market for a striker, but he doesn't have to tell you his plans all the time. I think they need to be, don't they? Because those two, for all trying hard and everything else, it's a huge drop-off, isn't it?
They need to be in the market for lads who can play in that front 3. Whether it's an out-and-out striker, we'll find out. But I think, you saw there from Solanke, and it's hard because, he hasn't played a lot of football, and he's a young player. Conditions weren't great. So you don't know whether that's kind of the reason why his levels look so low, or is it just a case that he's not going to be quite good enough for this level? Only time will tell at the minute.
I kind of think, though, he's got to take those opportunities.
I totally agree.
He did well at Stoke, didn't he? And people were sort of bigging him up there. But on this one, I think there's a chance second half in particular, which was telling for me, where he has one shot, it comes back to him, and rather than ping that first time like you'd expect from a striker, he tries to set himself, and then the chance is gone, and it's just like, lad, and same with Ings. I mean, he toiled away, but probably the highlight is starting a fight with Seamus Coleman.
Absolutely. I mean, he's all endeavour, Ings, isn't he? I think in terms of Solanke, you're looking for it to stick up there. He's a big lad, he's got physical attributes, and you think, you're 6'2", 6'3", you've got to hold it, lad. You've got to hold it and let it get up the pitch. He wasn't able to do that. It was bouncing off him, it was coming back all the time. And even though he hasn't played a lot of football, and I know obviously your first touch will sometimes go if you've not played enough games, but you were open for a little bit more, and you're thinking to yourself, you've got to put yourself in the manager's thoughts here. Exactly. For Bournemouth, for Stoke, for West Brom, for all those games that are going to surround that potential semi-final. You've got to be in the manager's thoughts, and for next season. But if you're the manager looking at that, you're thinking maybe just send him out on loan and let him make his mistakes on somebody else's watch. Let them kind of almost be the stepping stone for him to kind of improve and get better, because as you said at the start of this, there's no chance that you can be relying on him to come in as your alternative to Firmino next year, because the drop-off is just too great. And if we want to go and compete on 4 fronts next year, and we do, that's what we're in it for, to try and win trophies, then they've got to look to bring in some reinforcements over the summer, and there's no doubt the manager will do that.
Absolutely. I mean, he's young, we're not writing off his career, but it is one of them. Anyway, I mentioned the Shankly Hotel and the Shankly Tours at the start. Here's another reason now why you should go and check out the Shankly Tours. We'll be back in a minute looking at today's papers. Okay, we're back at the Shankly Hotel for our Monday feature, looking at the Shankly Hotel, the Shankly Tours, and the memorabilia that's here that you get to have a look at if you go on the Shankly Tours with Chris again, Bill Shankly's grandson. I mean, everyone remembers him being a manager, of course, and how he built Liverpool into the bastion of invincibility, the red kit, the signings he made, all the fantastic stories around him. Perhaps what gets forgotten a little bit is that he wasn't a bad player as well, and you've got some stuff from his playing days here.
Yeah, so I think the bulk of his playing career was at Preston, and sort of back then Preston were a really great side, the equivalent of a top 4 Premier League side now, if you like. So we've got a few of his medals on display from his playing career with Preston, most notably the FA Cup winners medal from 1938-39. He lost a lot of his playing career, obviously from the Second World War. I think when war began he was 26, and then when war finished he was 33. So it took that bulk time out of his playing career. So he probably would have had a lot more medals. But from what we've got, we like to talk guests through, that FA Cup final one, and some really interesting stories, some medals he won during the war as well, playing semi-professional games, and a really interesting story about how he actually played one game for Liverpool versus Everton at Anfield, where he actually scored the winner in a 5-4 game. Fantastic. So some really interesting stories.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone knows that about Bill actually turning out for the Reds there as a player. It's this kind of insight really that you can get from coming along to the tours. There's fantastic memorabilia all the way through in the hotel. You'll take it out and about as well. You can go and see where Bill lived in West Derby. So it's well worth checking out if you're coming to Liverpool, or even if you live in Liverpool. It might be some stuff that you didn't know before. Worth checking out. Shankly Tours. Look them up on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Okay, back with the newspapers, but first off, what a great spot we're in here. We're right on the Liverpool waterfront. It's absolutely glorious, which is why me and Ian are squinting and getting a suntan as we speak.
20 there, lad?
No, I might go and get some though. But yeah, it looks absolutely glorious down here, and we are very privileged to be here and have an office here, and thanks very much to everyone who's backed the Anfield up down the years, because without you, we wouldn't be here now. So anyway, all the papers, I'm not quite sure how this is going to work with them all under my arm and that, but we'll go. All the papers, all the big story that they're all concentrating on is, of course, Manchester City blowing the chance to lift the title at home against Manchester United. I mean, you can tell me anything you want as a fan, as a player, as the manager, about how it doesn't matter, about how you're going to still lift that title. That is one huge opportunity missed. Imagine us winning the league after all these years and doing it against Everton or doing it against Man United. Yeah. It just adds, the opportunity to rub your rivals face in the dirt, lift the title. And apparently Mourinho said to them, didn't he, at half time, they're 2-0 down, and he says, we don't want to be the clowns at this show. You know what I mean? And he got them fired up. They come back into it second half. But those goals that Manchester United scored, they're all dead straightforward balls, and they're all like, I'd be really worried if I'm a City fan now. Yes, you're going to win the league, but I mean, you've got to almost play a perfect game against us to get back into this Champions League game. And look, that could happen. They're still a good side. They've still got loads of talent. They've still got a great manager. But as things stand there, that game was a nightmare for them, wasn't it?
I mean, in terms of the first half, I was getting really wound up because I thought, United aren't even laying a glove on the head, making it all too easy. And let's be honest, City could have been 4-5 up there. Sterling lets himself down with some really, really poor misses. But then second half, the game comes alive. And in terms of a spectacle, I thought it was brilliant. In terms of football,
it's great to watch if you weren't invested.
Belter to watch. Yeah. And from our point of view, it kind of panned out almost perfectly, because you wanted loads of challenges. You wanted City to know that in an absolute game, and they were. The fans knew they were, because you've seen the scenes at the end where they're all crying like little babies, which is a little bit embarrassing if we're all honest.
You're still going to win the league.
Still going to win the league, you know what I mean? It's one game more, 2 games more, but crying at the end, come on. And then you've got the fact that, what your point there about, City have just bombed forward, kind of no thought about kind of defending at all, and it's working for them in that first half. But now you're thinking, does that play into their thoughts in terms of what happened in the second half on Tuesday? If we go at this Liverpool team, they could wipe the floor with us. They could break on us, spring on us, and if we score the first goal, or if we get a goal in that first half,
they need 5.
They need 5, and you just think that's a big ask. And I know they've done it this season, but that was against 10 men, and you're hoping that we finish the game with 11. That's not even playing into our thoughts. I doubt it's playing into the manager's thoughts. So, in terms of a performance, they'll be hugely disappointed. And you said it before there, yes, they will go on and win the league, but to do it against your biggest rivals at home, that would have been something special. That would have lived long in the memory. And I don't care who you are, that will have affected them. It'll have affected the fans, it will have affected the manager, and it will have affected the players. Yes, they're professionals, they'll shake it off. And by today, tomorrow. I'm sure they'll be thinking about the Liverpool game and only the Liverpool game, but it doesn't do us any harm at all. That they've had to go through that.
I think if they comfortably beat Manchester United and they're all buzzing and there's a positive momentum, they can almost forget about what happened at Anfield. But because now that is bolted onto what happened at Anfield, and all of a sudden now they're all waking up to headlines today like this. Why does it suddenly feel like Pep's losing the plot? So you got that there. You got in the Times, I think it is as well. The back of the Times. This is actually Pep sort of questioning himself, really. Guardiola, I could be to blame for dip, on the back of the Times there. And you know, his actual quotes, he says, I've dropped a lot of Champions League games in the space of 10 or 15 minutes. I think about that many times, says Guardiola, who went on to recall his Bayern Munich team's collapse against Barcelona in the first leg of their 2015 Champions League semi-final. He says, against Barcelona, after 77 minutes, it was 0-0. Then 90 minutes, 3-0. It's happened many times, and maybe it's my fault. I have to think about it. Now, as a fella who's like leading that club, you know, the players look up to him, the fans look up to him. He's obviously riddled with self-doubt here.
Yeah.
And that's not a great way to go into the second leg of a match, which you're 3-0 down. You've got to raise everyone. You've got to lift everyone. They could do with the kind of atmosphere that Anfield generated, but they've got no chance because they can't do it. It's not in them. You know, City fans, you know, they've won the league and they've had this new era of the club and they're in a different ground, and I get all that and good luck to them, but they've still got some of the mindset that from Main Road. They still think, like, when what happened against Manchester United, all the older fans are turning to each other and going, typical City this.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're looking back to days when they were keeping the ball in the corner because they thought a draw against Liverpool was enough to stay up. And then it wasn't, and they went down. You know, typical City. They could drop all the way down to the 3rd division, typical City. And I think, you know, there's still a residual, that's still there, that's still in them. And I think they need the manager to be a big leader here. And, you know, instead, you know, again in the Times here, lots of people will be saying just that. What's happening? There's an interesting little stat in here as well, and I love it when people do me work for me so well in the Times. They've come up with a stat here that City could be tiring because, you know, they went on a great run where they were scoring lots and lots of late goals,
yeah.
And a lot of them were by Sterling, who's decided to start missing now. And this graphic from the Times shows that a lot of these late goals have started to dry up. There've been none after 50 minutes in their last 5 matches in the Premier League, and none after 50 minutes in the last 7 in all competitions. So it kind of feels like maybe they're hitting a bit of a wall, maybe fitness-wise, maybe motivation-wise. So, you know, all in all, it seems to be like we're getting them at a good time here.
Yeah.
We've done our bit at Anfield. We've got to go there. As I say, look, you can't completely go to town and go, it's done, it's bosh, let's start thinking about the semi-final. There is always that doubt. This is why we love football as well, that there's still an opportunity. But you've got to fancy Liverpool here, surely.
I mean, you're right to say, let's not get too carried away. We know that they're still a brilliant football team. They're going to go and win the league, so that tells you that they're still a very, very good side. They've got loads of boss players who can hit you. But I think that thing about the doubt is important, because if I'm Pep now, I'm thinking, what do I do about my defence? What do I do about centre-half? Because Kompany's played 2 games on the spin. Now we know his body's creaking. Can he go again, Kompany? I don't know whether he can. Otamendi looks all over the place at the minute. I mean, he could have drove Mourinho's bus through that centre-half pair on Saturday night, because there's just gaps everywhere. Yeah. So what does he do about that? Does he look to bring John Stones back in? Well, John Stones hasn't been seen for weeks. And then he's got Laporta, so does he maybe look at Laporta? But he's new to the squad, so is there an understanding there between Laporta and any of the other centre-halves? Maybe not. So I think there's been questions posed there for Pep, and he would have wanted to go into that game and think, you know, he wins it 2 or 3-0 and they go again, no questions asked of his team, and he's clear in his mindset about what he's going to do. But I think that creates a problem for him, that game on Saturday night, and now he's got to think about what he does, and there's uncertainty there, and Liverpool can take advantage of that, and hopefully we do. But as I say, it's not going to be an easy game. I think there'll be moments in the game where it's really nerve-wracking. That's football, you know, that's elite level football, that's Champions League football. They're a good side, we're a good side. To see us go toe to toe, it's going to be a great spectacle, isn't it? It's what you're in the game for. It's what you want to see as a fan. It'll be really interesting how we approach it. We don't need to go chasing anything, but at the same time, you want to make sure you've got that threat when the opportunity arises. If you can pounce, you've got to take your moments. You've got to take your chances. Now, do they come out all guns blazing now, or based on what they've just seen on Saturday, do they be a little bit more, not necessarily cautious because they need goals, but if they come out flying out the traps completely, like everyone's piling forward, we could pick them off easily, and if we get the first goal, for me then, you know, their heads will go.
Yeah,
their heads will really
mission
go.
impossible, really, if we get that first away goal and they need 5. I mean, what I would say is that I feel now that you can trust this Liverpool side, you can trust what they're about. So, you know, we went there, we lost 5-0, Mane gets sent off and all that. It's irrelevant because we're at a different stage of the development of this team now. They trust the manager, they trust the system, they're more mature in about how they're going about managing games now. And look, I think it takes some massive, you know, the football gods would absolutely have to be against us for them to turn that round. And, you know, I can't see beyond if I'm putting a bet on, and I'm not, don't bet. But you can't bet against Liverpool, surely. It's surely going to be our time. Anyway, let's hope it is. There will be loads of build-up on the Anfield app, on the podcast. Mentioned earlier that the free show's already out, the review will be following, and then there's Under the Lights, which is focused specifically on this game. We're going to Manchester tomorrow, we'll be at the game, we'll be producing content around that, and hopefully when we all come back again later on in the week, we should be talking about Liverpool in the semi-final of the Champions League, and how good does that sound? And if you really thought that I was going to go all the way through talking Reds without mentioning Big Sam, well, you got it wrong. All I've got to say to you, mate, is yes, Prime Minister.